6 p.m. in Ekona, that is in the southwest region of Cameroon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. A bloody weekend in the conflict-hit northwest and southwest regions. Several persons are reported to have been killed in Noni, Bui division, that is in the northwest region, by armed men, and the southwest region. A man was allegedly killed by a uniformed officer at 3 Corners, Fiango Kumba. Meantime, several CDC workers have been held captive by some unknown gunmen. And speaking during the June session of Parliament, a member of Parliament, Honorable Ngale Tongo, raises concerns about the silence of the military and administrative authorities. And now we talk sports. June 26, 2003, June 26, 2023, exactly 20 years today that football legend Marc-Vivien Foé died of an undiagnosed heart condition which was discovered days after he slumped to the ground during an international match against Colombia. Several promises made by the government of Cameroon, such as plans to take care of the family of Marc-Vivien Foé and equally continue his dream of creating a sports complex in Biteng, seems to be far-fetched. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for staying with us on today's edition of the 6 p.m. news. Last weekend was a bloody one in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Several persons were killed in the Anglophone crisis, and parliamentarians have raised deep concerns over the situation during the June session of Parliament. We have more of this report compiled by Babila Jonathan. We'll be coming to this report done by Babila Jonathan concerning last week, which was very bloody. But we'll be coming back to that report in today's edition of the news. Meantime, fuel scarcity remains a major challenge for the population of the far north region. Due to its growing population, fuel has now become very scarce and equally expensive. And to resolve this problem, the governor of the far north region organized a crisis meeting with stakeholders with the aim of coming up with concrete measures that will address the problem of fuel crisis. Asia Lucy has more.
For several weeks now, fuel scarcity has been a problem to the population of Mara in the far north region. Car owners, bike riders, business persons find it difficult to fuel their cars and have access to fuel. This situation, according to business persons, has been paralyzing economic activities. He says at first, for a day, bike riders could have 5,000 francs as benefit. But with the increase of fuel, it is impossible. Fuel from Nigeria has increased to 18,000 francs. The far north region, as it stands, has only 12 filling stations, while the region has a dense population of about 5 million inhabitants. This is greatly affecting the population, who find it difficult to have access to fuel. Fuel scarcity has led to an increase in transportation costs, and even the price of fuel has equally increased at filling stations. As a means to resolve this problem, a meeting was held by the governor of the far north region, bringing together 6 divisional officers, security forces and economic operators.
This meeting essentially is to increase the fuel in the far north region, to enable the entire population to have the fuel.
During the meeting, proposals were made like the creation of an oil terminal in the far north region.
We will enforce the hierarchy that the far north region need what we call a petrol depot in the far north region in order to approve petrol in the 6th division.
The creation of the oil terminal and filling stations, according to authorities, will go a long way to solve the problem of fuel scarcity in the far north region, headquarters of Marwa.
And now we talk religion. Muslim faithfuls are preparing to celebrate the Feast of Tabaski on Wednesday. It is to celebrate Abraham's sacrifice of his only son Ismail to Allah. Our reporters visited the sheep market in Douala, where they noticed that the price of sheep has significantly increased compared to other years. Annabella comes back to that.
The sheep market situated around the airport here in Douala, Muslim faithful can be seen struggling to buy a sheep or even two in preparation for the feast of the Tabaski.
Je suis ici pour acheter le mouton pour la fête de mouton qui est dans 2 ou 3 jours.
The feast of the Tabaski is to celebrate Abraham's ultimate sacrifice of his only son Ishmael to Allah in total obedience. The price per animal at the sheep market range from 80 to 300,000 francs CFA.
Vraiment le marché est dur. Cette fois-ci, beaucoup se plaignent qu'il n'y a pas l'argent, mais le mouton aussi est cher.
The business people complain the price increase is also as a result of taxes, 1,000 per animal year around the airport. They also have to rent market spaces to display their animals before the feast of the Tabaski.
La mairie vient récupérer 500 francs par mouton. C'est comme ça qu'on les paye par tête.
On the feast day proper, the imam of every mosque will slaughter the ram or sheep first, and that will be followed suit in various families. The slaughtered animal will then be cooked and shared with friends and neighbors with the merry slogan, Baraka da Salah.
Annabella reporting there. We now take you out of Cameroon, where a political commission in Senegal has proposed changing the electoral law so that 2 opposition figures who were struck from the voter roll could run in for February 2024 presidential election as a measure to ease conflict in Sierra Leone. Opposition accuses the military of election weekend assault as they surrounded the party's headquarters during elections, creating tension. We have details with Mala Glory.
The national dialogue, which started on May 31st, ended on Saturday, June 24th. The National Dialogue Commission submitted their recommendations to President Macky Sall from the hands of Mustafa Niasse. The chairman of the steering committee, and Marie-Angelique Savan, the president of the Synthesis Commission. A total of the 270 recommendations on many areas of public life. The president spoke of a new impetus to preserve the essentials, that is to say, the republican form of the state, the civil peace, the stability, and the security of the country. Among the consensus of the political committee, a modification of the electoral code which will allow candidates convicted in court but pardoned by the head of state to stand for election. The president announced the creation of a follow-up committee to implement these numerous recommendations. Eagerly awaited on his decision whether or not to run for a third term of disputed legitimacy, President Macky Sall has promised to address the nation in the days ahead with available answers. The president will speak after the Tabaski festival, which takes place on June 29, 2023.
The tuition fee is too much. We are spending a lot. So we are looking forward for policies from government that are coming to at least to ease the burden on we students.
Free education will continue. And over to Sierra Leone, where official results are yet to be announced following the Sierra Leone's general election on Saturday by the President Julius Maada Bio and his main rival Samura Kamara, both claiming victory. It has been a tense campaign marked by violence. Mr. Kamara says live ammunition was fired into his party's headquarters as he held a news conference on Sunday. A woman there was reportedly wounded and there are fears for her life.
We are working with the police, the military, and other security sector members. They are supporting us. They have deployed their personnel.
Saturday's vote saw a high turnout, with voters telling the media the process was smooth, despite ballot opening hours late in many areas.
And now we talk sports. The world of football is today remembering the death of a football legend, Marc-Vivien Foé. The anniversary comes at a time when promises made by Cameroon's government during Foé's funeral has not been met about 20 years after. Smaji Kangevel gives us a flashback on the death of Marc-Vivien Foé during the FIFA Confederation Cup.
At this cup, as Cameroon took on Colombia, The match will be later suspended as medics struggle to revive Marc-Vivien Foé to no avail. The Cameroon versus Colombia encounter of Cameroon's Marc-Vivien Foé. At the same time, when France was about to play in the other semi-final game and they got the news of the demise of Foé, they were all inconsolable, with then coach of France, Jacques Santini, unable, even though at the time, no one was able to say the exact cause of Foué's death. It was later diagnosed that the 28-year-old midfield maestro, Marc-Vivien Foé, died from undiagnosed heart condition, which was discovered after he slumped to the ground in the center circle at the Stade Gerland. Till date, his dream of creating a sports complex in Biteng has failed, as authorities promise but have never fulfilled his dreams.
And in the same vein, Senegalese journalists say the Marc-Vivien Foé Award for the best African player in France should be upgraded. Cheikh Tidiane Diagne believes the RFI award was the best way to pay homage to the Cameroon football star who died while in action. Smaji Kangable has more.
19 years is already gone since the departure of Cameroonian midfield maestro Marc-Vivien Foé, but his name hasn't been forgotten due to his role in the national football team, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon, and in his professional club that he played. The heritage of Foé still remains very visible. In Yaoundé, to honor the midfield maestro, a street was named after him, known as Avenue Marc-Vivien Foé. Meanwhile, in France, precisely in Lens, a street was also named after Marc-Vivien Foé. Radio France International (RFI) has an award that was instituted since 2009 to the best African player in the French Professional Ligue 1, each end of season, known as the Prix Marc-Vivien Foé. The award, that was in its 15th edition this year, was won by the Democratic Republic of Congo's Olympique of Marseille defender Chancel Mbemba. According to BBC-based Senegalese journalist Cheikh Diagne, the prize of Marc-Vivien Foé is the best way to remember the man who played a good role in Cameroonians football. There is no other way better than this award to magnify the role of Marc-Vivien Foé in Cameroon's football and that of Africa. It is time for it to be remodeled to give more consideration to the award. With that, it will be a better way to continue paying homage to Marc-Vivien Foé.
À partir de là, on pourrait éventuellement renouveler et faire de nouvelles choses qui permettraient davantage de rendre fier Marc-Vivien Foé, sa famille et tout cela qui l'ont suivi.
Since Radio France International brought up the award, just one Cameroonian, Karl Toko Ekambi, who was then playing for Angers, won the award in 2018.
That's it for the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. The senior divisional officer for Bui Division in the Northwest region, Manyong Gilbert, recently accused the traditional ruler of Biame village, Nous, II, of collaborating with separatist fighters. Few days later, the Fon and some of his notables were allegedly summoned by the senior divisional officer. The accusations follows the arrival of the Fon from the United States of America to Biame village. The Fon, upon his arrival, was welcomed by the villagers, including separatist fighters who reportedly fired gunshots in the air as they welcomed their traditional ruler, an act that was described by some sort of treachery to the Republic of Cameroon. And following the trainer of the SDO is the Minister of Defense, Joseph Beti Asomo, who denounces such acts while at the National Assembly. Today on Talking Point, I will have as guest a human rights defender based in Bamenda, Gabi Abo. Good evening to you, Gabi Ambo. It is a pleasure having you on the program today.
Good evening, Emma. The pleasure's mine as well.
Gabiambo, after the outing of the SDU of Bui Division, condemning the collaboration of the traditional ruler of Biame with separatist fighters, the Minister of Defense, Joseph Betia Somo, while at the National Assembly, joins the train. He warns all those living in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon who are collaborating with separatist fighters of what awaits them. As a human rights defender living in the conflict-hit regions, which is Bamenda, what is your analysis on the outing of the minister?
Yeah, to begin with, I just need to state that, the funds of the Northwest region and the chiefs of Southwest regions are the custodians of the traditions of the people. And they are definitely having palaces as open places for people to come take refuge in case of any challenge in that circumstance. So, I mean, the palace is like a welcome place for each and everyone, a citizen or a foreigner who is in that fundum area in that circumstance. So, to look at what as you said, and the minister, analyzing the fact, we'll look and see the government is actually walking away from the focus and being able to chase individuals or constituted authorities who actually have a role to play and in gross violations of the human rights of the customs and traditions of the people of the area in that circumstance. So we think that the government should be able to actually focus more on resolving the problem and getting lasting solutions to bring an end to the problem, rather than shifting blame to the traditional authorities in that regard.
Okay, Gabiambo, in a war zone like the northwest and southwest regions where belligerent parties are visibly present and their actions, don't you think, what are actions or attitudes should authorities, especially traditional rulers, adopt in order to stay safe?
Yes, if I got your question well, it's about the challenging situation wherein, the various belligerent parties actually their actions on ground, and it becomes challenging for authorities, be them traditional or local authorities in that regard, to go to take sides or lean on one side in that circumstance, and to kind of try to see how well you'll be able to convince one side against the other, or trying to do some other thing extraordinary that will cause a suspicion in your area. Like I said earlier, the condoms are places that are open to each and everyone, where people go take shelter and go and take protection in that circumstance. So it will actually be dangerous for the funds to go to successfully be able to avoid being able to do what they are supposed to do, as the government expects them to do the ordinary, which actually will put them at risk in that circumstance, and it will look upon as spoilers, so there will be attention for attacks on them in that circumstance.
You are living in Bamenda, which is a chief town of the northwest region. We know traditional rulers and some economic operators have continuously been interchangeably accused of collaborating with separatist fighters. They are being accused of working with both parties. Don't you think the government should be more focused on ending the crisis rather than pointing accusing fingers?
Yes, I think it's most important for government to put in place a robust mechanism in rolling out the conflict that's going on ground, rather than turn around and point accusing finger at persons that come on board or feel them as coming in between. I do understand the government's frustration as well, cognizant of the fact that they are leading and actually they face the challenge wherein they don't seem to see stakes on ground to go the way they expect. It's important to note as well that, for government to succeed in its collaboration of the stakeholders on ground in that circumstance, but then they have to address the responses that are expected, to hinge on the right actions, such that we can bring an enabling environment that will bring this issue to its logical end, rather than pointing fingers or attacking the various stakeholders, because it's a challenging situation actually, and most of the people on ground do not know exactly which way to run to, because they are faced with these two arms and they are caught in the crossfire at some point in time, and so they are having no choice of theirs than take the dictates or take the directions or the actions that come maybe from the military or from the pro-independence fighters tagged by government as separatist fighters.
You earlier said they have no choice. Now, under the international law, who has the sole right of protecting civilians? Is it just one party or both parties?
Of course, when you have to talk about international law, we go a little further to talk about the international humanitarian law, better still, the body of law. The body of law at the international level involves the international humanitarian law, international human rights law, and the refugee law, which actually is an instrument wherein the governments of the world have actually taken that obligation to protect their own citizens. And it's not just about protection, it's about respect and fulfilling the international engagements they all have signed and ratified. So in this case, the Cameroon government, of course, is the only structure and the only body that has a mandate, to ensure the security, protection, and fulfillment and respect of the engagements and its own subjects within its own jurisdiction in that circumstance. No other person.
We know traditional rulers are meant to guide their people, protect their people. But with such security threats, a lot of them have been forced to get out of their villages to seek refuge in other cities like Yaoundé, Douala, and other areas, complicating a lot of things for a lot of villagers since they have no traditional ruler on the base. Now, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Minister Paula Tanganji, has been calling on traditional rulers to go back to their villages, given that which he believed, because he believes the crisis is over. To you, and especially as someone who is living Bamenda, do you think it is safe for these traditional rulers to go back to their villages as of now?
It's interesting for you to know that it's intriguing from the expectations of government. Some government officials are requesting for certain actions, and other government officials are requesting actions that seem to be contradicting or contravening all of that. If the request of the Minister of Territorial Administration warranting the chiefs or the funds to go
That was Gabi Ambo. Due to connections problem, we just lost that call coming from Bamenda, that is the chief town of the Northwest region, and that was Gabi Abo, a human rights activist. And that's where we'll put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs on ETV. Have a lovely evening.